Hi, I'm Joe Exotic from the GW Exotic Animal Park, and this is going to be a pre-Nat Geo animal intervention series that I'm going to do myself, so we can make sure that there's no editing or foul play or an animal rights direction to this show. What we're going to do is we're going to show you the things they didn't tell you and the facts that they tell you that's wrong, just to make a dramatic movie that sells on TV. The only thing I have to say about Allison Eastwood is at least she was a stand-up enough person to put on her blog what she actually thought about the GW Exotic Animal Park and myself. Let's sit back and watch what she has to say before we get into this.
This story was at GW Animal Park and here outside Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, and you know, we didn't necessarily know if this was a rescue situation or what this was going to be. We had heard about this very controversial guy, Joe Exotic, who has this animal park, and there are a lot of animal activists who don't like him and find him to be a bad person and cruelty to animals. I mean, you name it. And so I was a little skeptical and a little worried about what we were going to find and who this person was. I must say I was surprised and pleasantly surprised that, you know, the facility is really nice. All the animals look healthy. They all look happy. I didn't see any abuse here. I didn't see dirty cages. You know, I didn't find anything that was alarming. And unfortunately, in my life, I've seen a lot of alarming stuff. You know, and Joe is not a bad guy. You know, I can tell he loves his animals. I can tell that, you know, he's not a bad guy. Our biggest issue in what we were doing on this show was his breeding policy.
One thing I thought was kind of hysterical, Eugene with Nat Geo and Animal Intervention brings out two movie stars to tell me what I'm doing wrong about breeding cubs that have never seen one, let alone touched one, or bred one, or raised one. So let's get into breeding first of all. Everybody would love to see cubs grow up with their mom. In a perfect world. Unfortunately, this is no longer a perfect world. You have many things to think about when you're raising cubs or you're raising anything in captivity. We're here in Oklahoma where we have rattlesnakes, rat snakes, bull snakes, copperheads, coral snakes, and these animals are in their compounds, just like they'd be in the wild. So in order to save a species properly and take care of the cubs responsibly, we need to pull the cubs at the safest time in order to save the tigers from the elements or the other animals. Another big thing that come up during the Nat Geo filming was we pull our babies anywhere between 8 and 10 days. We do that for two reasons. One is they take to a bottle much easier once they're pulled, and they become tamer tigers, as you can tell by all of the tigers that we have here. 173 big cats, and every one of them are social, especially Sarge, that you see in almost every one of my pictures and my educational shows. The other reason that we do that is because the colostrum is only given to the babies for the first 24 hours of their life through their mother's milk. Now granted, they do get an immune system from their parents, but they get the same immune buildup from any of the other animals that we keep them around while they're babies. So leaving them between 8 and 10 days is perfectly healthy. And we don't allow public contact with any of our babies until they're 8 weeks old, according to USDA law. One of the big things about filming the Nat Geo thing is they brought a specialist in from Oklahoma State University, Dr. Konoria Ketz. They fly in a thing saying that 23 cubs died between the year of 2009 and 2010. It was actually during an 18-month period. But the amazing thing is they have it on tape and they chose not to show it. That Dr. Ketz was the attending veterinarian trying to save those babies' lives. She's also the attending veterinarian at Oklahoma State University that did the necropsies and proved that it was the KMR that killed those babies, and that I went public. Nowhere on this show will you see Dr. Ketz say that Joe Exotic takes awesome care of his animals and takes very good care of his cubs, because she is the one, along with Dr. Schoonover, over at Oklahoma State University are the ones who developed the formula that we feed our cubs here at the GW Exotic Animal Park. It's shows like Animal Intervention that set you up to fail from the very beginning. The cameras roll just to sell drama on TV. In fact, they fly in little things saying between 625 Indo-Chinese tigers reside in the wild, trying to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. In fact, the last Indo-Chinese tiger that was in the wild was spotted in the year 2007. He was shot and killed and eaten by a human being, and that human being was sentenced to 12 years of prison. So we actually don't even have any Indo-Chinese tigers in the wild. So why does Animal Intervention, along with Nat Geo, want to make us look like we don't know what we're talking about? Another strange thing that they do is when we're talking about ligers, that's a lion dad and a tiger mom crossbred in order to create a liger. They fly in their little thing saying that it is not natural and it resolves of birth defects in order to crossbreed animals, which is very untrue. It's genetically proven this year alone by a university out of Texas that hybrid cats are genetically stronger than any hybrid cat there is. This ought to tell you just what is Nat Geo trying to prove? Trying to show that we're all idiots, or we don't have the strength to fight back and tell the truth to the viewers. I especially like the part where Donald gets on TV and says, "Joe, aren't you a little bit of a mad scientist or a snake oil salesman or maybe just a salesman? Or what do you think if people think you're crazy?" Well, I don't think I'm half as crazy letting our animals crossbreed to create a new species on their own rather than taking the DNA and cloning them like they're going to do in Brazil. Or hey, how about animal and people combination? I had to really laugh. I love the bear pits in South Carolina or wherever they were that aired on the same episode as mine does. They actually threw Bob Barker off their property. Now he deserved that one. You know, bears belong in the wild, running around on grass, playing games, everything else according to Bob Barker. Well, unfortunately, the day after I saw that episode aired, here in Oklahoma, they shot and killed 66 wild bears. And we don't even have that many bears here in Oklahoma. But we have so many bears, Bob Barker, that they can actually open a season and kill 66 of your bears that are running around, having fun, playing games. Now you gotta ask yourself, which bears are safer? Ours in our park, or the ones running around in the wild with grass between their toes being slaughtered, all for a hunting license? What is it with movie stars? I'll never understand where they get all these movie stars. Bob Barker, isn't he the same clown that gave $250,000 to the most pathetic Pat Craig in Kingsburg, Colorado, in order to ship 13 some lions clear across the world and end up where? In Kingsburg, Colorado, to live? And isn't he the same guy that give like $1 million to PETA that kills all their animals and gave some $1 million to the Whale Wars people so they can promote criminal activities against people who do things with animals? Whether you agree with hunting whales or not, you still do not have the right to ram your ship into other people's boats or shoot cannon water shots at them or anything else. So, what's really fair in Hollywood? You can blame people like Animal Intervention and Eugene with Nat Geo, along with Wayne Pacelli and Ingrid Newkirk, of why people have to defend themselves. They make fake videos, such as Animal Intervention, without telling the truth of what really goes on. And then you have the people out there on medication to keep their brains functioning right that think we're hurting animals, when in fact, we're the only ones on the planet that are trying to save the species. That's the zoos, some sanctuaries, and most of the private owners are the only people that have the diverse bloodline to keep some species alive. During the first part of filming Animal Intervention, they wouldn't let me meet Allison Eastwood until we were both mic'd up, and we actually met for the very first time in this same spot. When I first introduced myself to Allison Eastwood, they cut out the part where I shook her hand and I said I was against women posing nude because it would make every man on the planet think of my mom when they see a lady standing naked. And they chose to cut that out, but that's okay. The part that they did put in there, and they loved the drama, is I wear a gun. I wear a gun for one reason, that is to protect my animals from the people of the world. We've had people try and break in here and let the animals out, crawl in the cage to kill himself, and everything else. So, is it extreme? Yes. They show me many times funneling with my gun and pulling it out and saying, yes, this is extreme. Here in America, the most extreme part that I can imagine is we have to wear guns to protect ourselves against the animal rights people. When our government can declare an animal rights group the #1 terrorist in America for domestic terrorism and still give them a nonprofit status, we have a ladder that's broken in this country. And we have to protect ourselves with guns to protect our animals, to protect our rights as American citizens. You know, last night I watched an episode of Ellen with Allison and Donald that were the stars of the Ellen Show. You know, the only problem I have with animal intervention or anything else of this matter is, you know, the AZA will not take any of these animals that they're taking from private people. So where are they going to go? And who's going to pay the price to move them, house them, and feed them for the rest of their lives? As you can see today, we're moving in more cats here at the GW Exotic Animal Park at our expense. So, is it fair that Animal Intervention can pocket the millions of dollars or however much they made on making animal interventions with Nat Geo, and then take the 34 cats per se in Arkansas that needed to be moved now that they talked the lady into giving them up? But who's going to pay the bill? It's the private zoos and the private sanctuaries that's going to foot the bill, the manpower and the feed to take care of these animals for the rest of their lives. How come Nat Geo didn't get their checkbook out and help fund the problem that they just created? Okay, well anyway, National Geographic Explorer, Nat Geo Wild, along with Animal Intervention, would like you to think that I'm some kind of a moron or some kind of an idiot. Actually, the Humane Society of the United States would like you to believe that I'm a ticking time bomb. Actually, they're all full of crap. I am the worst thing that they've ever known, and that's an exotic animal owner doing it right now with a public television station to air the truth about exotic animal owners worldwide. Am I a ticking time bomb? I am far from crazy enough to kill myself or let my animals out to be slaughtered like they were in Zanesville, Ohio. But am I a ticking time bomb to release the truth over the World Wide Web and bring to you, the viewers and the public that deserve to know the truth about exotic animal owners and how much we really love our animals? You know, when I'm sitting in the studio and they're actually filming us making a live show, they leave out the part of who I call out there. So we're going to throw it out there. When I talk about the $500,000 reward for somebody to come forward with the information leading to the arrest of who killed Terry Thompson, that was for Wayne Pacelli with the Humane Society of the United States. If you give up a $500,000 reward and somebody comes forward leading to the conviction of whoever killed Terry Thomas, I said I would neuter and spay every animal on my park, and I'll still do that today if we can prove that Terry Thompson was murdered. And that's the part that Nat Geo left out. Yeah. Okay, now let's just talk about Nat Geo overall. Okay. You know, what did you think about Nat Geo?
You know, I thought the episode that they did on us was all right, other than the facts. They didn't have the facts right.
You know, they kept flying in miscommunication facts because they're living on the fact that 90% of the viewers don't know the difference between the facts. Kind of like the Indo-Chinese tiger thing.
And they don't.
You know, we only have 2,800 tigers in the United States. That was just released not too long ago by the Feline Conservation Federation. And the funny thing is they put 2,500 just in Indo-Chinese tigers, when in fact there ain't even any left. Okay, the last one was found in 2007. But you know, overall, what I thought of Nat Geo was they could have really done something good to help animals with this series.
You're right.
Because they're right. Some of the people that they showed on this episode didn't need to have tigers, and they weren't taking proper care of the tigers. And that could have been a good thing. But why do they make everybody out to be liars?
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. And that Billy McInerney guy, he was like way out there.
Yeah.
You know, the people that came to our park, Allison and Donald, at least they were respectful and they listened to our stories. We listened to their stories. But when we got Billy McInerney involved in animal intervention, I think Eugene lost the whole production.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our side of Nat Geo. Stay tuned at 8 o'clock Tuesday night to see the whole thing uncover. I'm Joe Exotic with ExoticAnimalTV.com and JoeExoticTV.com. We'll see you later. Three, two, one. Another issue that kept coming up while we were filming Nat Geo. Okay, scratch that one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, another issue that kept coming up while we were filming the Nat Geo series and the part that they put on to air this Tuesday at 8 o'clock was the colostrum able to be fed to the babies long enough with okay, 3, 2, 1. Another big issue that seemed to come up during the Nat Geo filming shit thing is they fly across the screen that we lost 23 cubs. Nowhere in that segment do they tell you that was over an 18-month-old period. Where do I got to start so you can chop that back out? Animal intervention video shit. One of the big things. Hi, I'm Joe Exotic, and welcome to JoeExoticTV.com. Ladies and gentlemen, check out our other website and our other television station, Joe Gone Wild. Damn, that hurt.